All right, I'm fresh out of the theater. This is gonna be my spoiler-free thoughts on Sonic Movie 3. And my personal challenge, just because I've done this a couple times, the first 2 times on Tails' channel, so check that out if you have not yet. But because I'm a Sonic fan that never thought this kind of thing would be possible, honestly, the first trailer of the first Sonic movie where he was like ugly, that's kind of like about what I expected Hollywood to do to Sonic. So it's a very surreal. So the game for me, when I start the timer and really get into my thoughts, spoiler free, is I'm going to try to kind of shake off the starry-eyed kind of excitement and the, oh my god, this is actually happening as a Sonic fan, and just talk about it as much as I possibly can as like a general piece of media. Okay? So I'm a hardcore Sonic fan, and obviously I'm super excited, super impressed. Okay? And we're going to talk a little bit about that, but here we go. Okay. So yeah, let's just talk about the last couple of things I was talking about. Like, I'm super excited. I got everything I expected from this film. So let's get the warm fuzzies out of the way, right? Like, I got everything I wanted and more, right? So I was surprised in a lot of moments, right? So the fear of there not being enough Sonic music, it's not at the Mario movie level, but there was a lot of moments where I was going like, I know what that melody is. I know what that melody is. And that's what you want. You want to just be, it's like, you want to feel like the composer. Like, I'm okay with the composer of the soundtrack to be like, I want to bring my own stuff to it. That's respectable. That's fine. But the level in which they did it here was like, yeah, thank you. That's a trade. We were talking about it on my stream yesterday, but I think it's a good way to describe the relationship between the producer of a story and the audience as like a game, right? And it needs to feel fair and balanced. And so that's an example where it feels like a fair trade between the composer of the soundtrack and the audience. The audience gets things that they were kind of expecting, and it's used in an appropriate context too, right? Stuff we've been asking for from the first 2 Sonic films, and they've really kind of drip-feeded it to us. And honestly, they could do a lot more. They could be doing more of it. They've I would say, like, first movie barely used it at all. Like, it was like some scenes at the end, but like barely. Second movie, still not enough. There was like tiny little moments, but more than the first film. This goes up like, you know, first film, second film, this one kind of goes up here. It should be up here, you know, like there's, because it's Sonic music, but it's the amount, it's at the level in which I would expect the first film to be after I was all excited about the redesign, right? So there is now an appropriate level of musical references, in my opinion. And it also doesn't have that lull in the middle that the second movie had, right? So I like the feeling I'm trying to resist so that this is a little bit more future-proofed, but it's inevitable that it's not going to be that future-proof because all of these day one reactions aren't, but I'm trying. So that kind of like vibration and like excitement that I'm feeling, the same feeling that I felt coming out of the second Sonic movie, I'm feeling, but even more so because it's not weighed down by that immediate afterthought of like, oh yeah, but that wedding scene, like I know people are going to be really talking about that wedding scene. And not because it's like objectively bad, just because it's very different than what you're getting, right? So in that imagery of like a trade or a balance in a game of the story between the story producer and the audience, it just felt like we were not getting that. It wasn't a fair trade. It wasn't, we didn't ask for this. Which is fine. It's not that it's not that it's bad. It's just that we didn't ask for this. So there's a certain amount of patience and tolerance, and everyone's going to have a different tolerance level for what they didn't technically ask for. And this movie does not have any of that. I do not know what is going to upset people. It'll probably be tiny little narrative beats, because there's so much happening here, right? The tone, there's a whiplash, right? If I have to say things like just in general media, I feel like if I had to look for something critique-wise, without getting into spoilers and specifics, it's like a whiplash. There's so much going on. As a Sonic fan, obviously I'm cool with that, right? It's always been very stimulating, a lot going on, like from one extreme to the other, like really happy moments, really dark moments, like that's Sonic. And so this movie doesn't shy away from that. You'll go from laughing, like crying laughing, to like crying for real. Like, it's an emotional roller coaster. It's very, very fun. And I think it's a reminder of what I think media should be. It's for fun, and that tonal whiplash, that's not for everyone. They're just leaning full into it. It's not going to be for everyone. It's like the equivalent of a high intensity roller coaster. And some people like a smoother ride. This is just high energy a lot. So I feel like if people like slower paced movies that kind of have more breathing room for every moment, this may be not the movie for you. But there's just so much in here. If you are just immersed in the world and the cast, right? You're excited to see all of them, you know, play off of each other and see this world get bigger and bigger, right? If that's the way you're coming at this movie, you're gonna get so much. You're gonna have handfuls. You're gonna be walking out like overflowing with stuff to talk about, to think about. And that's, I think, the majority of the audience. So I feel like the people where it's gonna be like, this is not for me, it's just a disconnect from what I really think Sonic is about. And I think that's what this this media property does really well, is it knows what Sonic is as a media property, where it's has those extremities, right? And I want to close off by speaking to Sonic purists, right? Because we've talked about how there will be an impact on the games if this movie is successful, and I'll say I got exactly what I expected, which is success from these films. So purists, because this is the part of the video where I ask you guys a question, because it's open-ended, so I can technically make a part 2 to even my spoiler-free review. I will when I do a spoiler review, so that's what the comments will be for. But the purists, right? People are looking for a more animated movie. I want to kind of talk to you guys about what you think the effects of Sonic succeeding, being one of the first video game characters to succeed in a live action setting that is as merchandisable as Sonic. For example, I went to go get a water for Lords, and I couldn't get a water because the line for food, we were there like 15 minutes early. The line for food was impossibly long because the staff was not prepared for how many people wanted popcorn buckets and whatever they could get with Sonic's face on it, right? Like, the Mario movie was a Mario movie, and I know that like purists are jealous of that, but that has different effects, and I still want that. But I want to talk about specifically, and this is a question. I'll follow up on it because I'm mixed on it, and I want to hear what you guys have to say first. What do you think that's gonna do? Because in the video where I was saying this is gonna have an effect on the games, that's the kind of stuff I'm thinking. Is what that does. There's just so many people who will not accept films, like animated films, as films. Like, they just do not exist. Like, it's a different quadrant in their brain. It's the furthest spot. So I think we just need to talk about that, because we can leverage that into something really, really cool for people who are wanting more narrative from Sonic and wanting a less overbearing cartoony elements. The best quick comparison I can think of is like Lost World, where it just leans too far in that direction. So I think I don't know. I'm looking at this positively. This is the part where you guys talk. So let me know what you guys think about that. But yeah, this is my spoiler-free thoughts. Yeah. Thanks for continuing to support the channel. And that's it from me. I'll see you next time. Peace.